It's a beautiful day here in Pittsburgh, and we're on the banks of the Allegheny River. It's the first of a day-night makeup doubleheader. A couple of teams hoping to be in the playoffs, the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday afternoon for Cubs baseball. Jim DeShays and Len Casper. So we're going to update the playoff picture, and these two teams have kind of been in the same position for quite a while.
Both teams playing a very good baseball for an extended period of time, and because of that, the Cubs haven't really been able to dent into this lead that the Pirates have. Now stands at 4 games for that top wild card spot. However, they've made a move on the Cardinals. The Pirates just 2.5 games behind St. Louis. Cubs are 6.5 games back. 20 games remaining for the Cubs, 10 of them against the Pirates, and the Cardinals 7 with this Pittsburgh club.
Yeah, the Cubs have taken 7 of 12 this year. That's a nice turnaround. They went 5-14 against the Pirates last year. 20 games to go, as JD mentioned. The Cubs' magic number to clinch a playoff berth is at 13. So we're going to be here today and tonight, makeup doubleheader, as the Cubs and the Bucks will get it going. It'll be Jason Hamill and Garrett Cole next. Man gets a hit. Benny's Beverage Depot will donate $100 to Make-A-Wish, Illinois. Gorgeous weather here in Pittsburgh. Very calm conditions, a lot of blue skies above, and a pretty decent crowd gathering here. We don't expect the big crowd here for the day game during the middle of the week with school in session. We should have a bigger audience tonight. This is a makeup of a rainout back on August 3rd. Let's check out the umpires for game 1. Chad Fairchild in the background will work home plate. Toby Basner's at first. The crew chief Jim Joyce is at second, and Greg Gibson will be at third. And a lot of questions from fans. Why did these two teams not play yesterday, considering they had an off day? And it just sounded like they wanted the off day and would rather have played 2 today.
Yeah, well, you get to this stage of the season, you're playing every day, and sometimes the players would opt to just have that day to kind of kick back, relax, stay away from the ballpark, and it's a compromise. You pay the price, you got 2 the next day, but understandable that both these clubs would want to take a breather.
Night game tonight. It'll be John Lester and Jay Happ in a battle of lefties. And it's righties here in the opener. Jason Hamill for the Cubs. Garrett Cole working on extra rest for the Pirates. Pirates' magic number to clinch their third consecutive postseason berth is down to 9.
Yeah, well, this is it, right? We talk all the time. Players talk about, going into spring training, the start of the year. Their goal is to play meaningful games in September. Both these clubs have positioned themselves, and these are huge games. Cubs trailing the Pirates by 4 games for the top wild card spot. They've got 7 games remaining with Pittsburgh, 2 of them taking place here today.
So the Pirates take the field behind the hard-throwing righty Garrett Cole, and here's how the Cubs will line up offensively, brought to you by Southwest. Dexter Fowler is in the leadoff spot. Kyle Schwarber bats second. Chris Coghlan had the best game of just about anybody's career on Sunday. More on that later. Rizzo at first. Bryant is at third. Miguel Montero will do the catching. Starlin Castro could start both ends of the doubleheader. He's got really good numbers against the Pirates. Hamill, the pitcher, will bat 8th, and Addison Russell, the shortstop, hits 9th.
Check in with the Pirates defensively. You'll note no Starling Marte. He's scuffling a little bit, so he's not in there today. He's got a little stomach issue, and he's had some shoulder issues, so Travis Snyder replaces him in left field, and that's a big deal, especially in this big ballpark. It's a lot of acreage out there to cover. He's joined in the outfield by Andrew McCutchen and Gregory Polanco. Infield, Jung Ho Gung will play third base. Jordy Mercer, very sure-handed at short. Walker at second. Pedro Alvarez, not sure-handed at first. He's committed 19 errors, by far the most by any first baseman in baseball. Chris Stewart does the catching today, and the Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is the young fireballer Garrett Cole. Any other year, you would say this guy could be the Cy Young Award winner. That's not going to happen, but he's having one fine season. 16-8, 2.54 ERA. He is 6-1 lifetime against the Cubs with a 2.93 earned run average.
He just turned 25 1 week ago and was the first overall pick in the 2011 draft. And he's averaging 97 miles an hour on his four-seam fastball.
Yeah, average velocity, according to Fangraphs, third highest among all starting pitchers in the major leagues. Second only to Matt Harvey in the NL. So he'll go two-seam, four-seam fastball, hard slider, and then he'll back off in terms of usage. He throws a curveball and a changeup, but it's mostly fastball slider. Very reminiscent of Jake Arrieta, really, in terms of the way he uses his pitches. And the outcomes, too. High strikeout guy, but he also gets a lot of ground ball outs. He's only allowed 9 home runs all year long.
So here's Dexter Fowler to start things for the Cubs. He has 5 leadoff home runs this year, and here we go. 95, and it missed for ball 1. Corner men are in. A little bit away.
Cole last time out in St. Louis, 7 shutout innings. He'd been hit around pretty good by Milwaukee in his previous start. He's working with extra rest here. That last start came back on September 6th.
3 balls, no strikes on the leadoff man. There's the first pitch in the zone today. It's 3-1. On the ground, backhanded play. Mercer leaves his feet. He won't make a throw. Leadoff hit for Dexter Fowler. That'll help out Make-A-Wish, Illinois, via Binny's Beverage Depot.
Now, once Mercer had to leave his feet, no chance he was going to get Fowler. You get a good look here. Dexter pushes this one the other way. Backhanded by Mercer, but no chance.
Now Kyle Schwarber. His last 4 hits have been home runs, including 3 in that series against the Phillies. And ball 1.
Well, might be able to do a little running against this combination of Cole and Stewart. Certainly an option with Fowler.
High in the air to right. Polanco, a few feet in front of the warning track, makes the catch. Fowler tags, but he's going to stay at first.
You mentioned the home runs recently for Schwarber. There's been an awful lot of just misses, too. Swings like that one where he just didn't quite square it up.
So that's the first down, and now it's Chris Coghlan. He went 4 for 5 on Sunday, 11 total bases, 2 triples and a home run. The only out he made was a fly ball to the warning track. We were talking with his manager. He said, you should have been on the field. He said the contact just sounded different.
Joe told Chris that he probably hadn't hit 5 balls that hard in the game since Little League.
Here's a pitch by Cole, and it's a strike on the inside corner at 97. These next 2 weeks, the Cubs and Pirates will match up 7 times. As JD mentioned in the open, 10 of the final 20 games the Cubs have are against the teams ahead of them. In the dirt, knocked down by Chris Stewart.
And it's the nature of this game. You tend to look back and say, what if, and the Cubs have had some what if games on this trip. That game in St. Louis that got away. They won the first 2 games of the doubleheader, or the series in Philadelphia, by sweeping the doubleheader, and then winnable games Saturday and Sunday, but came up with losses on both occasions. If you're a player, if you're a manager, you're in uniform, you can't afford to look back. You just come to the yard the next day and go.
Fowler runs. Coghlan swings and misses. The throw will get into center. Fowler will advance to third. A stolen base and an error on the catcher, Chris Stewart, and the Cubs with a golden chance here in the first inning. That's his 19th stolen base.
Stewart trying to be really quick and never got the handle on that ball. Gives up an extra base with the error. He was dead if he was stealing center.
And the Pirates will bring their infield in to the edge of the apron. And a 1-2 count on Coghlan. Anthony Rizzo on deck. They're going in. And Coghlan was able to hold up. There are a lot of empty seats in the ballpark. I said before, pretty good crowd gathering. The reason I say that is most of the sections have people in them, which usually means it'll start filling in as the day moves along. This is a split admission doubleheader. But for a 1:35 local start on a September Tuesday, not bad. 2-2 pitch, fouled out of play.
Well, really, kids shouldn't be in school today. Got a doubleheader. You got this weather. No real reason to go to school today. Go to school all year. Coghlan in that game Sunday, just jumping on fastballs. That's kind of his MO. That's an off-speed pitch.
That'll get the first run in as Fowler's ready to tag. McCutchen makes the catch, and here comes Dexter. It's a sacrifice fly for Chris Coghlan, and it's 1-0 Cubs.
Well, when you're up against a guy like Garrett Cole, you just don't know how many chances you're going to get, so you love to take advantage of them when you did. The throwing error moves Fowler into third base, and Coghlan takes advantage with that good AB, lifts the ball to center. A little early lead for Jason Hamill to work with.
So base is empty, 2 outs, and Anthony Rizzo takes ball 1. The Cubs Roberto Clemente Award nominee. All 30 nominees were announced yesterday. Timely, we are in Pittsburgh. It is a highly coveted community service award. Last year, Anthony was Major League Baseball's Branch Rickey Award winner. Does a lot of great work off the field. Makes a lot of visits to Children's Hospital in Chicago. Visits cancer patients. 3-0 on Rizzo.
Swing it. Red light, red light, red light, green light.
Here's the pitch. 3-1.
Mm.
3-2.
That's Arrieta-like, isn't it? 91 miles an hour, that kind of lane-changing action. Let's see if Riz can get something done here. 3-2. May regret not trying to get out in front of that 3-0 heater. Anthony batting .444 against Pirate pitching this year. We showed you that graphic early about the head-to-head matchup. And how the Cubs are much improved against the Pirates this year over last. He's a big part of it. Chris Bryant hitting .381 against the Pirates this year. Starlin Castro .375.
The 3-2 pitch popped into left. Snyder is under it, and that'll be an unearned run to get the Cubs on the board. It's the Cubs 1 and the Pirates coming up. Lead the National League with runners in scoring position since August 1st at a .305 clip. Polanco, Walker, and McCutchen at the top. The rookie Jung Ho Kang has been terrific this year and good numbers against the Cubs as well. Alvarez at first. Snyder in for Marte, as JD mentioned, in left. Jordy Mercer missed about a month with a knee injury earlier. Chris Stewart has been terrific as a backup catcher. Garrett Cole, the pitcher, will hit ninth.
And the Cubs defensively. So Kyle Schwarber charged with covering the big left field here at PNC Park. Dexter Fowler's got center. Chris Coghlan out in right. Infield, Bryant Russell. Castro Rizzo, Miguel Montero behind the plate, and the Lexus pursuing perfection. Starting pitcher for the Cubs this afternoon is the veteran right-hander Jason Hamill, to the mound for the 28th time, 8-6 with a 3.59. Solid last time out against the Cardinals. 2 starts against the Pirates this year, both early back in April. 1-1, lost 1. Pitched to 8 shutout. The last time he saw Pittsburgh, that was on April 27th.
Gregory Polanco turned 24 yesterday, still scratching the surface, just in his second major league campaign. That misses outside.
Get to this time of the season against a division rival. There are not many secrets. You got a pretty good idea what the opposing hitters do, and Pirates have gotten a lot of looks at Jason Hamill. This is his 7th start against them last year in this.
So he goes 3-0 on the leadoff man, like Garrett Cole did against Dexter Fowler. And a 4-pitch walk.
He walked 4 in his last start against St. Louis. Ended up being charged with 3 runs on 4 hits and 6 innings of work. Took a shutout into the 7th inning. Did not retire a man in the 7th.
Yeah, if you go back now to Jason's last 11 starts, he has not completed 7 innings. And after a really good beginning of the season, his ERA is above 5 over his last 10 outings. So here's a switch hitting second baseman Neil Walker, and he shows bunt, but I don't think he had any plans to do that. He was just waiting till Hamill threw him a strike.
And not surprisingly, Jason goes to the slider there to get it. His slider among the best in baseball.
A lot of birthdays here recently for the Pirates. 5 days ago, Walker turned 30. Bryant in at third. There goes Polanco, and Walker just got hit. A walk and a hit batter to start the bottom of the first.
Well, you got the early lead on Garrett Cole. You hate to give it right back, but that's the position Jason finds himself in now. First and second, nobody out. Middle of the order up, and Walker just standing there in take mode. You talk about not making an effort. I guess at the end, a little bit of a move to try to avoid getting hit by that pitch.
Yeah, he was in take mode, but not necessarily take one off the shin.
Well, yeah, he's going to let Polanco try to steal the base there. And had he been able to hopscotch that ball, Polanco might have been able to go all the way to third base if that thing had kicked away from Montero.
So under the category of things that are less than ideal, I would put this in that file. Facing Andrew McCutchen with 2 on and nobody out.
Yeah, that would be in that file, except for the fact that the triple play is now in order.
Ground ball, base hit. Polanco's going to be sent by Rick Sofield. Here comes the throw by Schwarber. It's up the line and late. And 3 batters in. The Pirates have tied it on Andrew McCutchen's 93rd RBI. He came in tied with Chris Bryant for 4th in the National League in RBIs.
Yeah, McCutchen got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, but you knew that wasn't going to last. One of the elite players in the game. He jumps on a first pitch here. And that's just a great example of that selective, aggressive approach we talk about. Yeah, a walk and a hit batter, so you don't want to go up there just flailing away, but if you get a pitch early to your liking, go ahead and take a whack at it. McCutchen delivers the RBI single.
Now 28-year-old rookie Jung-Ho Kang, and he bunts foul.
He's thinking base hit there.
He's been hitting for a lot of extra base hit power, leading all major league rookies with 25 second half extra base hits. Early trouble for Hamill. That's low. It's 1-1. Walk, hit, batter, single to tie it. Late cut that time by Gung. And it's 1-2.
He's had a few games this year where the first inning has been a big issue for him. 19 first inning runs allowed now in 28 starts.
.78 degrees as we get started today. Wind not really a factor. That's in the dirt. Gung was able to hold. And it's 2-2.
Gung uses a big leg kick, but with 2 strikes, he'll minimize it or eliminate it. Johnny Depp is in the house.
Or Keith Richards. Rizzo makes the catch. That was an infield fly rule play as Toby Basner made the call at first base. So even though Rizzo was in the outfield, that did qualify.
I'm a little surprised that he called infield fly there. He was backpedaling. Yeah. I guess.
So a much needed out for Hamill, and now it's Pedro Alvarez. Alvarez made the conversion late last year from third to first. And the pitch. Breaking ball misses low for ball 1. 23 home runs for Alvarez. That leads the Pirates. 20 have been solos. And outside, a couple of curveballs have missed. So, you know, each player kind of go down a list of things they do really well or things that you expect. Starlin Castro, especially early in his career, was a high average hitter. Collect a lot of hits. Kyle Schwarber hits for power, takes walks, hits for average. You check all the things. Pedro Alvarez hits home runs. That's why he's in their lineup.
Yeah.
He doesn't hit for a high average, doesn't take a ton of walks. As you mentioned, he takes a fair amount of walks, I should say. Has struggled defensively at times. And he just took a walk to load the bases.
Yeah, I don't know how Clint Hurdle has been playing it lately, but I would assume late in the ball game, if they have a lead, Alvarez will come out of the ball game for a defensive replacement. But he does give them a very dangerous presence in the batting order. At times they've had him down near the bottom of the order because, you know, there is a lot of swing and miss there, not a high average. But, certainly a dangerous presence, especially against right-handed pitching.
So an early visit from the pitching coach, Chris Bosio. This feels like a critical moment for Hamill as he tries to get settled in here today. Against Garrett Cole, you don't expect to get a ton against him, so you don't want to give up a bunch here in the first inning to the Pirates. And also, you know, game one of a doubleheader feels like the tone is set somewhat by that starting pitcher. You don't want to have a 3 or 4 inning outing by a veteran starting pitcher here in game one.
Yeah, and maybe less of an issue in September because of all the extra arms in the bullpen. But yeah, absolutely. You want to try to avoid giving up that big crooked number. There's our AT&T UVerse multi-view. You see Pirates manning every base here.
Travis Snyder in his second stint with the Pirates in a big spot here, filling in for Starling Marte. 1 ball, no strikes. Marte has the stomach flu, and he is expected to be in their game 2 lineup tonight. Snyder signed with the Pirates in August after being cut by the Orioles. Not
a big sample size, but Snyder 4 out of 10 with a couple of home runs against Hamill. Jason, last time out, mixed in a few more change-ups than we're used to seeing. He's been using his curveball a little bit more in recent starts, too.
Swing and a miss. That one up to 94. For Hamill, it's 1-2. Kick and the pitch. Ground ball up the middle and simply slowed down, but not knocked down by Russell. And 2 Pirates will score. Walker and McCutchen. And it's 3-1 Pittsburgh.
Well, there's that crooked number he was hoping to avoid. That's a play we've seen Addison Russell make. No doubt a difficult play and surely a base hit. One he's capable of making. And I think he thought he had it. It looked to me like he reached in. Yeah, he's looking for it. It's not there. So he felt the ball hit his glove, didn't realize that he hadn't secured it.
Jordy Mercer, the shortstop, with runners now at first and third. Alvarez 90 feet away. And strike one. I mentioned Mercer missed some time, over a month earlier in the second half with the knee injury. Known more for his glove than his bat. Here's a pitch.
Real nice try here by Russell. Actually overplayed it a little bit right off his wrist and on into center field.
Some early action in the Cubs bullpen. Left-hander Zach Roscup. Fouled back by Mercer. If you're wondering why would Starling Marte be out with a stomach flu but should be better by 7 o'clock, I haven't asked him or Clint Hurdle, but my assumption is that he's feeling better today. And because he is coming back from that ailment, he probably wasn't going to play both games anyway. And if you're going to play one, you might as well play the night game just to give him a few extra hours, right?
Sure.
Those are my assumptions only. 2-2.
Yeah, and I think you would want him in the Lester game too, against the lefty and with the running game.
Well, the decision to start the veteran Snyder paying off early as he's knocked in a couple with that big single. I don't know how many sliders we've seen from Jason, but that has been by far his best pitch this season. He's throwing it really hard today. 87 to 89 miles an hour. And I know at times Joe Madden has commented that he thinks Hamill has tried to throw his fastball too hard. And we've seen 94.
Yeah, I think at times they've asked him to try to just, throw more two-seamers and try to get movement away from a lefty as opposed to overpowering the fastball.
2-2. He got him on the slider.
Yeah, and my guess is the increased velocity on the slider is just a reflection of maybe a little bit of a hot gun here. Normally throws that slider 84, 85 miles an hour. Normally, there's not a whole lot of variance in that. But yeah, not only is it his best pitch, but that pitch is one of the best individual pitches in the game in terms of batting average on his slider. Among the best in baseball.
Yeah, only Francisco Liriano's slider and Danny Salazar's splitter has gotten or have gotten a lower opponent's batting average than Hamill, who gives up a 171 average on that slider. A strike on Chris Stewart. The Pirates have gotten great production out of their catchers this year. A combined 299 batting average that leads all major league teams behind the plate. We'll see Francisco Cervelli in game 2. And Stewart has now caught 21 of Garrett Cole's 29 starts.
Which means he's got a really good catcher's ERA,
yeah, 2.32. You are correct.
Always good for a backup catcher to hitch his wagon to the ace.
I guess he's had a big lump of coal, and it's been a good thing for Chris Stewart. And he lines to Castro to end the inning. Pirates get 3, and after 1, they lead 3-1.
Close to Bears safety Antrell Roll and get his reaction to Sunday's setback. Look ahead to a big week. The matchup against Arizona in week 2. It's the premiere of the Antrell Roll show tonight at 11 on CSN Chicago.
Garrett Cole gave up an unearned run in the first inning, but he has a 3-1 lead as he'll face Bryant, Montero, and Castro here in the second. Travis Snyder knocked in 2 with his single. So the Cubs' magic number hasn't really moved the last few days. They lost Saturday and Sunday in Philadelphia. The Giants have won their last 4 in a row. So the Cubs, with 20 games to go, including this one, are 7 ahead of the Giants and 8 in the loss column. Here's Chris Bryant, and a strike. He had at least 1 hit and an RBI in all 4 games in that Phillies series. Cubs split the weekend 2-2. Four and 3 so far on the road trip and averaging almost 6 runs per game. Fouled off. Miguel Montero on deck. We'll see David Ross catch game 2 with John Lester. In some ways, it kind of lines up ideally for both managers, right? Righty, opposing starter in game 1, and lefty in game 2 as Bryant strikes out. Makes it easier to give a couple of guys.
Mix some guys, yeah. Change your lineup up a little bit.
least part of the day.
Yeah, well, you know, we've talked about Cole here in the nightcap. Jay Happ is pitching for the Pirates, and man, he's been tough as nails lately too.
Yeah, he had kind of a subpar outing against the Cubs in his Pirate debut, and since has been lights out. Strike on Miguel Montero. I was looking at Miguel's career numbers now, decade in the big leagues, mostly with the Diamondbacks. His OPS, there's a ground ball base hit, and it'll go up. 762 going into that at bat. In his career, 763. He's been Miguel Montero.
Level, yeah. Yeah, you know, he's always been known as one of the better offensive catchers in the league. He's hit 15 home runs this year, despite spending some time on the DL.
Castro 5 out of 13 against Garrett Cole. And red hot as of late. As a part-time player and starting to earn more playing time as he's collected a bunch of hits, and he bounces this one foul. He's got 970 in his career, still just 25 years old.
Yeah, he's been moving the ball around the field. He's been going to right center some. He's been driving the ball more the last couple of weeks. Less of that pull-off little roller to the left side that we saw a bunch of prior to him losing his everyday job. So nice job making an adjustment. He's been a solid contributor here, and as you mentioned, getting more playing time. And there are the numbers to back it up. 404 in his last 18 games. Better than 300 hitter lifetime in this ballpark. Get out of my kitchen.
Two and two on Castro.
Starlin steps out, wipes the face with the jersey, contemplates Cole's next move. He said, all right, fastball in. And try to throw that slider away. Or will he go back inside?
Pitcher is on deck. Short lead by Montero. Here it is. Cardinals are in Milwaukee later tonight. Strike three called, and Starlin knew it. 99 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's hit 100 miles an hour this year. And again, I think we're dealing with a little bit of a hot gun here. But nonetheless, this guy can deliver the mail. He really has a great arm. First overall pick in the draft. #1 in the first round in 2011 out of UCLA. And he just busted one at 99 at the bottom of the knees.
Now faces Hamill. Jason late on a fastball. Cole actually was a first-round pick twice. The team he grew up rooting for, even though he's from Southern California, was the Yankees. His dad from Syracuse, New York. They went to a lot of Angels games in Anaheim. And he would end up being the 28th overall pick taken by the Yankees out of high school, but he decided instead to go to UCLA. This one bounced up the middle and actually deflected by Cole. Barehanded play. Mercer to get Hamill, and the Cubs are done in the second. 3-1 Pirates early. Northside Data Strong fan, you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Big 4-game, 3-day series here in Pittsburgh between the two teams currently occupying the wild card positions. Theo Epstein, Cubs president of business operations, baseball operations rather, met with reporters before the game, and they were peppering him with wild card format questions. And Paul Sullivan writing about it. I guess Theo said that at one point he suggested making the wild card a 2 out of 3 with a doubleheader on day 1. But that was rejected. That would be fun, a doubleheader in the playoffs.
Yeah, because you only have so many days to work with. I mean, the World Series that will end in November this year, possibly. So if you could kind of take the high wire nature out of it, the one and done, that would be an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be a split doubleheader. I think you'd draw pretty well, wouldn't you, for a wild card doubleheader? Yeah. Cole with one career home run. It came last year at Wrigley Field off Blake Parker. That missed the outside corner. Yeah, I'm with you on the gun because we've seen Hamill pretty consistently here now, 93-94 as opposed to 92-93. Polanco on deck. 2-2 on Cole. And a ground ball to first. Candy hop for Rizzo, and he makes the play unassisted.
Cub fans, don't miss the stretch run at Wrigley Field. The Cubs return home. Final homestand. It all starts this Friday. That's the 18th. Put a little mark on your calendar. The Cardinals, the Brewers, the Pirates, and the Royals are in. So besides marking your calendar, check out Cubs.com and buy some tickets. How about a one-day doubleheader, and if the games are split, total runs determines the winner?
Wow. So
nobody could accuse anybody of running up the score.
You'd be trailing 5-1, but if you put that second run on the board in the 9th, you win.
Oh.
Bryant in, guarding against a possible bunt.
That slider has very good action today. Hopefully he can kind of get locked in here and pitch deeper into this ball game. Keep the Pirates right there.
One is on the way, and that one lined to left, foul out of play.
How about this?
Yes.
Split the first 2 games of the doubleheader. You send each team's fastest man out to home plate, and they do that race we did as kids where you go the opposite way. One guy's good to first, one guy to third, and you race all the way back around to home. You talk about drama.
Popped up, shallow left. How about just play extra innings? If you split the doubleheader, you just.
No, I want kind of the shootout thing. I want something funky.
No. But it has to be a catcher on each team.
In his gear. See him passing each other out there by second base.
It has to be the oldest catcher on each roster. There's Walker with 2 outs.
Yeah, and with all the specialization in the game as the roster time comes, the general managers around the league going, I got to get my hands on a old, fast catcher.
Jason Kendall, bring him out of retirement. You could do a mascot race.
Oh, now you're getting silly. My idea was clearly rational and well thought out.
2 strikes on Walker. 3 strikes on Walker. 1, 2, 3 seconds. So Hamill has sent down 5 straight now, trailing 3-1. Brought to you by Nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. Go to jeffvuk.com. Garrett Cole in the third with a 3-1 lead. He gave up an unearned run in the first inning. He'll face Russell, Fowler, and Schwarber.
Couldn't ask for a better day to play. Oh. Man, this is just spectacular.
'22nd start of the year for the rookie Addison Russell. We're not too worried about 2016, but as you have said on a few occasions, can't imagine Russell will hit 9th. Too much moving forward. I think the more compelling question for next year, this will be a good spring training question for Joe Madden. Will he still want to hit the pitcher 8th and a position player 9th? He's done it pretty much all season, save for 1 game.
Yeah, I guess it would just depend if there were another, well, 2 things, right? When they crunch all the numbers, and I'm sure they're crunching as we go along to see, you know, the models of what they anticipated that would happen, what has actually happened in terms of run production.
Russell went 2-2.
And then secondarily, do you have a player like Russell on the club next year where you feel like you want to protect him by putting him in that spot in the batting order, as was a big part of Joe's rationale this year for this decision.
And he lines that one out toward right center. Polanco will cut it off, but he had a little issue with it. McCutchen, though, the man on the spot, as he keeps Russell at first base.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Addy didn't make an assumption there going down the first baseline, because I think if he's turning it loose down the line and sees the misplay by Polanco, he should be able to get to second base here. Now, up against a guy like Cole, every base so valuable. Well, you don't want to get caught making an assumption that a play is going to be made that isn't made. I'm not saying he wasn't going hard, but I don't know that he was going all out down the line.
So that brings up Fowler.
Good swing. Yeah, he's running pretty good. It's just, I guess if you're unsure, you're better off peeling back.
Here's the 0-1. Snyder will handle that humpback liner.
Right now would be a very good time for you to plan your 2016 Cubs spring training experience at beautiful Sloan Park. Go to Cubs.com/Mesa to place a deposit on season tickets and secure the best seats available. Individual spring training tickets will go on sale in January, so be sure to check back. Cubs.com/Mesa. There you'll find the latest updates.
Schwarber flying to right.
With the popularity of the Cubs and the way they have drawn in spring training, I suggest you move on that quickly.
Surprised nobody asked for time, as Cole really waited. And now he and Stewart will talk it over.
Well, Schwarber's got numbers. He's gaining a reputation in the game, and he had a real good swing at Cole first time up. He just missed hitting that ball out of the ballpark, hit a high fly ball to right field, and that clearly has gotten Cole's attention. There, you saw where Stewart was set up for that first offering. Sitting well out on that outside part of the plate, off the outside corner.
One ball, one strike. Cole was the highest drafted player ever to go to UCLA. I mentioned he was a 28th overall pick out of high school. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
Yeah, that's a lot of confidence in yourself and the fact that you'll stay healthy to turn down first round money in this day and age.
The following year, the Yankees received a compensation pick because they lost Cole in that draft. Guess who they took?
Derek Jeter.
No. Slade Heathcock.
Last night's hero.
Yes, for the Yankees. He hit a game-winning 3-run homer in the 9th at Tampa Bay after A-Rod had tied it with a double.
Yeah, and the word that Joe used to describe it was he Schwarbered the ball. Left-handed hitter, Slade Heathcock, pounded one to left field, and Joe was saying it's hard to go oppo at the Trop, and he said it made a big noise like Schwarber.
1-2, driven again to right, but again it'll be an out. So 2 outs for Coghlan, who hit a sac fly in the first.
Right fielder Chris Coghlan.
Cole later would be the highest draft pick ever out of UCLA as that top first pick, as we mentioned. First time they'd ever had a number 1 overall. His teammate Trevor Bauer went number 3. And that was the first time since 1978 that 2 of the top 3 picks came from the same school. Bob Horner and Hubie Brooks out of Arizona State in '78.
So Arizona State was routinely turning out top draft picks back in the day. What a program they had. So the Yankees, it's interesting though that they must have felt like they had him somewhat committed, right? To you use your first round pick. Normally, the guy's kind of giving you every indication he's going to sign.
And the fact he grew up a Yankee fan had no bearing on what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to college. Didn't feel like he was ready for pro ball yet. Interesting, there was a photo that ran in the Newark Star-Ledger, 2001, during the Yankees Diamondbacks World Series. He and his dad went to Arizona. He was 11 years old, and there's a photo of him in the paper with a sign that said, "Yankee fan today, tomorrow, forever."
He probably still is then.
He and his dad even hung out in the Yankees hotel lobby watching the players come and go.
Probably hates Luis Gonzalez.
And a throw to first. But we see fans everywhere we go. Just consider that there's a decent chance at one point we've seen a young Cub fan holding up a sign or asking for an autograph, and 10 years later that guy's maybe at AAA right now or in the big leagues. You never know.
Brandon Crawford was a big Giant fan growing up. Pictures of him at Candlestick.
Garrett Cole's fiance is Brandon Crawford's sister.
Just had a shot of a future Pirate third baseman.
And Coghlan got hit by that pitch.
Cole seems a little miffed by circumstances here. This is that power slider down and in. Catches him on the back foot, maybe on the bounce, but it got him. And boy, what a chance this is for Rizzo now.
It's a little bit of a late reaction. He sold it well. Well, in his defense, Chad Fairchild, the home plate umpire, very quickly pounced on that and pointed that it did hit him. Outside, ball one. Is it possible Chris got stung by a bee just as that ball was coming through?
I think it's possible that the ball hit him. I think he reacted a little late, but it seemed emphatic. I think it might have brushed the top of his foot on the way by.
Two and 0 to Rizzo. Cubs down 2. 2-out rally here as he fouls at the dish.
Maybe he suffers from delayed sensory sensation syndrome.
DSSSS.
Yeah. You get stung by a bee and you wait a couple. What was that?
The 2-1 is hit in the air to left, and this should get Cole out of the inning. Snyder hauls it in, and the Cubs strand a couple. Midway in the third, it's 3-1 for the home team.
Season series win in an Eastern Conference match with Orlando City. Coverage begins at 7 on CSN+.
This is a makeup of a rainout back on the 3rd of August.
Do you know that's what us soccer insiders, we call the fire the Fire. It's an inside soccer kind of thing.
Is it? Okay. Good to know. McCutchen, RBI single and a run in the first. An all-star for the 5th consecutive season. And a strike. Top 3 finish in the MVP voting each of the last 3 years. He won it 2 years ago. Not terribly bold to make the prediction. I don't think he'll finish in the top 3 this year, but you never know. As he lines that one into center, he's 2 for 2.
Likely top 5, though. Eh?
Yes, I would handicap it right now as Harper. Looking at it through Cubs-colored glasses, I would say Rizzo 2, but Paul Goldschmidt definitely in the mix. I think they'll go 1, 2, 3 in some order. I think McCutchen will be 4, and I think Nolan Arenado will be 5. The only thing that could change that is if one of the starting pitchers in the Cy Young race finds a way into the top 5. But I think those 3 guys are going to cancel each other out for the MVP.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of voters that just won't vote for a pitcher for the MVP. Right. And if they did, it would be way down the ballot.
Gung takes a pitch off the plate inside. What a value he has been. And we talked earlier this season, there were some who weren't quite sold on him succeeding here in the big leagues. He came over from South Korea. He got a 4-year deal worth only $11 million. That looks like quite a bargain now. He has already been worth over 4 wins above replacement, according to Baseball Reference.
At 28 years of age, so he should be in his prime throughout the 4-year deal. Yeah, they just didn't know if the numbers he put up in Korea would translate here in the States. You know, the power numbers were really good in Korea. And he struggled in spring, so there are a lot of questions. He's got an OPS over 900 in the second half. And boy, when Jordy Mercer went down and they were able to plug him in at shortstop, he's been a big part of the success here in Pittsburgh.
2 balls, no strikes on him. I have one other guy I want to mention. Via Twitter, John chimes in. He thinks Yoenis Cespedes will finish in the top 5. That's a good call. He's probably only going to get about 58, 59 games with the Mets. But there will be people who will vote for him. If not to win it, but they might put him in the top 5. The 3-0. Oh, he swung away, and that's how you swing at a 3-0 pitch.
Yeah, you don't feel for the 3-0 pitch. You're not trying to punch it the other way. You're trying to hit it into the Allegheny. And there's that leg kick I referenced earlier. So depending on the situation, if he's looking to drive the ball, you're going to see the leg kick. If he's got 2 strikes, he wants to enhance his chances of making contact, he's going to quiet that front side down. That's kind of what the Cubs are asking Javi Baez to do. Don't give up on that leg kick altogether, but certain situations where it's paramount to put the ball in play, minimize all the movement, use the hands.
McCutchen not running, and the 3-1 is a strike on the inside. 3-2. Tough matchups for the Pirates offense coming up. They face John Lester tonight, Jake Arrieta tomorrow. They get Greinke and Kershaw this weekend in Los Angeles, Saturday and Sunday. There goes McCutchen, swing and a miss. And the throw is behind McCutchen, who picks up his 8th steal. So the Pirates this week, JD, will face the top 3 Cy Young contenders: Arrieta, Greinke, and Kershaw.
Yeah, reminiscent of that stretch the Cubs had not too long ago. After they head out to LA and Colorado on their next road trip.
McCutchen with at least 20 steals in each of his first 5 campaigns. He had 18 last year and only 8 now so far this season. As Alvarez takes ball 1. Cubs got an unearned run in the first. The Pirates put up 3 earned runs on Hamill to answer back, and that one lasered foul. Wow.
He just hooked a 1-iron. Gives you some idea of his strength to hit a ball that hard and stay on plane as it did. That's the old frozen rope right there.
Alvarez, the 2nd overall pick in the 08 draft, behind shortstop Tim Beckham, who went to the Rays, and just ahead of Eric Hosmer to the Royals.
Vanderbilt, right? Alvarez?
Yep. Swing and a miss for out number 2. Clark, the official mascot of the Chicago Cubs, can be part of your next event. From charity events to wedding receptions and birthday parties, Clark wants to be a part of it. Go to Cubs.com/kids for more info on how to book him for your special event. So this tells you something about the draft. You go back to 1996. And a lot of top 10 picks for the Pirates with all those sub 500 records. They will walk Snyder intentionally and face Jordy Mercer instead. So Chris Benson was number 1 overall in 96. J.J. Davis went number 8 in 97. Bobby Bradley in 99 went number 8. Brian Bullington went number 1 in 2002. If you look at all these picks, other than Cole,
a lot of swings and misses.
Well, their 2 best players were actually out of the top 10. McCutchen and Walker were the 11th overall pick in 04 and 05. Brad Lincoln, Daniel Moscas. These are top 4 picks. Tony Sanchez.
Yeah, like I said, there was guys that just didn't turn out to be the players, the pitchers especially, that they anticipated. And then there were some injury issues along the way, too. So that combined with some bad trades, that all part of that long run. Yeah. What was it, 20 years between 500 seasons?
2 full decades, and now well on their way to their 3rd straight postseason berth. On a hop to Russell, he'll get it to Castro, and that will end the inning. Mazeroski waves. We send you to break. 3-1 Pirates after 3. Pirates and the Cardinals here these next 2 weeks. 3 more games in this series, including tomorrow night here on CSN. It'll be Jake Arrieta night. And I believe we've got Sunday's game here on CSN as well, even though that is a TBS broadcast. Pretty sure of that. Swing and a miss by Chris Bryant.
Cole working with extra rest here. Doesn't appear to be any ill effects. He does not seem to be rusty at all. He made 22 starts for the Pirates last year, pitched 138 innings, and came into this start with 180 innings pitched.
Bryant strikes out for the second time.
Most clubs this time of year, especially with young guys, high upside guys like Cole, they're very mindful of the innings and the pitch count. But when you're in a pennant race, you kind of ask a little bit more of guys. They bought him a little extra time between starts this go around. The general rule of thumb is you don't want to increase a guy's workload by more than 20% one year to the next. But sometimes it's inevitable. And you got to trust your eyes too sometimes. The numbers tell you one thing, but you watch a guy pitch. Is he laboring? How's the ball coming out of his hand?
Swing and a miss by Montero. Single to center in the second.
Gene Collier has a good column in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette today, focusing on Jake Arrieta and how it would be in the Pirates' best interest to run down the Cardinals, so not having to face Arrieta in a wild card game.
I think Gene is correct. As Cole makes the play, 2 outs.
Making the case that Arrieta would be the 2015 version of Madison Bumgarner. Knocked them out last year. But you would anticipate, unless there's a change, and there certainly could be, but right now, if the season were to end, you would see Arrieta and Cole, right, in that wild card game. Arrieta, Cole, and a lot of frustrated hitters. First 1-2 wins.
Astro fouls away. Cole was the April pitcher of the month in the National League. 4-0 with a 176. An all-star for the first time. You referenced his record against the Cubs. 6-1 in 7 career starts with a sub-3 earned run average. Swing and a miss. Cubs go down quietly in the 4th, trailing 3-1.
features a rotating panel of newsmakers and sports reporters for a half-hour talk about the hottest topics in town. Watch Sports Talk live tonight and every weeknight at 5:30 on CSN Chicago.
That was an abrupt ending.
In the background was the Roberto Clemente Bridge there. Folks worked their way from downtown across the bridge to the ballpark.
Stewart, Cole, and Polanco.
Didn't miss by much. I think there's been a few players over the years walking across that bridge, maybe flip a coin into the river for a little good fortune. After the game, you'll find a saxophone player out there.
Yeah. Playing a lot of the great TV themes. Pulled that fastball. It is 2-1.
Joe Madden has been prepared to react here this afternoon. Had the bullpen action in the first, again last inning. Gives you some sense of how important these games are.
He struck him out. Stewart caught looking. Hey, Cub fans, let's go. Here is your opportunity to register to win the chance to purchase 2015 Cubs postseason tickets for games played at Wrigley Field. Go to Cubs.com/postseason to register and learn more about this postseason ticket purchase opportunity. Cubs will conduct random drawings from among eligible fans who successfully complete the registration form. As Cole fouls back. The 0-1 is deposited into center. Garrett Cole is aboard. A one-out hit for the Pirate pitcher.
Has a good approach at the plate. He hit the .140, which isn't great, but it's above average for a pitcher. He's a good athlete, has a good looking swing. He hit a home run off the Cubs last year, maybe?
Yes, he did at Wrigley. I guess Polanco got out of the way. Cole with an aggressive turn around second. It's a wild pitch charge to Hamill.
Just spiked that pitch. I think it was a slider. Clint Hurdle watching his ace run the bases. Probably an easy big fella. Just station to station here. Don't get too frisky. Whoop. Need to reset the sights here. Second one in a row. Yeah, just burying that slider down and in. Nice play by Montero.
Pitcher and catcher will talk it over. Trevor Cahill up in the Cubs bullpen.
Jason has labored here this afternoon, and the top of the order now getting their third look at him, and it's only the fourth inning.
Outside, it's 3-0. One perfect inning so far. That was the second. On the ground, Castro will scoop. Cole now at third, 2 outs. It'll be the Pittsburgh native Neil Walker. 7th major league season for Walker.
That comeback by Hamill on Polanco has kept him in the ballgame. I think if he lost him, Joe might have gone to the pen. Cole stumble around third base there.
Right field, and that'll get a run in. As it one hops the wall, Coghlan quickly gets it back in, but it's a sliding double for Neil Walker, and it's now 4-1. Big 2-out double.
The ball down in the zone, but Walker with a very powerful swing, lining that ball to right. It's a big high hop up the bottom of the wall. Otherwise, Coghlan might have had a chance at Walker at second base, but easy double for Walker and a short day for Hamill.
Yeah, very short one. 3 2/3. Cahill for Hamill, with the Pirates leading 4-1.
It takes place January 15th through the 17th at the Sheraton Chicago Hotel and Towers. Weekend passes will go on sale later this month, but book your hotel stay now. Stay updated by visiting Cubs.com/convention.
This has been a very tough place for visiting teams to play, as the Pirates are looking for their 50th home win. And they lead 4-1. Here's sinker baller Trevor Cahill. His numbers combined between the Braves and the Cubs. As he tries to get this final out in the 4th inning, facing a tough customer and Andrew McCutchen.
Numbers not good for Cahill. Not a lot of big league time with Atlanta, and just 3 appearances so far with the Cubs. With the Cubs, he's thrown the ball well. His velocity's been up compared to what he had with the Braves. And he throws a lot of sinkers.
Fouled back by McCutchen. Well, I know the answer to this, so it's kind of an unfair question, but I will admit that I had to double check. Neil Walker standing at second base, 7th major league season. If you ask, pretty knowledgeable baseball fan, has he ever been an all-star? I don't think the quick answer would be no. I think you'd have to think about it. You'd go, well, a few years ago they weren't very good. Maybe he was their lone. He has never been an all-star. So if you have that list of guys who have been pretty good players and have been around for a while but have never made an all-star team, I think he would be. Yeah, there was a couple of
last year or the year before. I think he was definitely in the conversation, and end of the year numbers were really good. So much, until you become that guy who's looked upon as an all-star year after year, a lot of it depends on just what kind of a first half you have.
Yeah, Jake Arrieta would be a great example. Not an all-star this year. Two and two on McCutchen. And will probably hit double digits in terms of all-star appearances. He's halfway there as he bounces to third, backhanded by Bryant. And the inning is over. 2-out RBI double Neil Walker to send Jason Hamill out of the game. It's 4-1. Header. John Lester and Jay Happ later tonight in game 2.
Mission number 1, get Garrett Cole out of this ball game. Hopefully put another run or 2 on his ledger and get into the bullpen. Not that that's any great advantage, but I think the Cubs have been good at this year, pushing starting pitchers, getting that pitch count up, and forcing the opposing manager to make an early move to the pen, or certainly earlier than he would hope.
Pitcher Cahill will lead it off. One ball, one strike.
Cole right now in pretty good shape in terms of his pitch count. .103 for Cahill's career, and that average might go up or not. No, he's out. 9-3 as he's thrown out by Polanco. You can see that one coming. Polanco very shallow and toward the line drive. He's on it in a hurry. You can see where he's positioned right there.
Cahill ran hard. And he was out by several steps.
Yeah. That's you know, people say, oh, that's because Cahill, he can't run. I mean, there's not many guys in the league that are going to beat that one out. I mean, he wouldn't be playing where he was playing with a lot of guys hitting.
Correct. But a 9-3 to get Cahill.
Yeah, you don't mark that in your scorebook very often.
The 2-0 to Russell is a strike at the knees. Fouled off. Don't look now, but the Texas Rangers could be in sole possession of first place after tonight. They're hosting the Astros in a big 4-game series. A 5-3 thriller last night. Prince Fielder, a game-winning homer in the 8th. And the Rangers are 9-4 against the division-leading Astros.
Yeah, last night was Cole Hamels and Scott Kazmir, a premier pitching matchup.
3-2 pitch, strike 3. He got him. Number 5 on the day.
It's a dilemma for the hitters when you're up against a guy like Cole. We've seen that fastball as high as 99 miles an hour today, and the slider has been absolutely electric. A little different than Arrieta's. Arrieta's has a little more depth to it. His has been big, and a lot of horizontal movement, but not lazy. I mean, it's really sharp. And when you have to contemplate that kind of a breaking ball and 99 miles an hour, that presents a bit of an issue for a hitter.
See if Fowler can start a 2-out rally. Cornerman pulled in and he fouls to the screen. The Pirates closing in on the Cardinals in the division. 2.5 games back. They haven't been closer than that since April 27th. They have the second best winning percentage in baseball behind only St. Louis. We mentioned 49-22 here at home. So nobody's been better in their home ballpark than the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Pirates are a very balanced team. For me, they got more firepower than the Cardinals do in their lineup. Their pitching is really good. The Cardinals have outpitched everybody this year, but not in September. Cardinals have a team ERA of 5.31 in the month of September.
Yeah, I think we can't overthink it too much, but I suppose, and we're staring at kind of an example of the question, if the Cubs don't catch the Cardinals and don't catch a top wild card spot, would you rather have the Pirates win the division and you take on St. Louis? Is there a Garrett Cole in that rotation? Now you have Jake Arrieta, so I guess you don't worry too much about it. But if you had your preference, would you rather?
Oh, that's a great call. We had that conversation last week about
yes,
if you had a draft of the NL Central aces.
Well, I wouldn't want to face this guy considering how well he has pitched today. Let's put it that way. All Pirates so far 4-1 in the 5th. Charities. Cubs Authentics is the premier outlet for all MLB authenticated Cubs memorabilia. Go to Cubs.com/authentics to bid on weekly auction items and pre-order game-used bases and baseballs. The Cubs will donate net proceeds from the sale of Cubs Authentics items to Cubs Charities. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jung Ho Gung. That one bounced foul. 1-2. Fouls back of the plate.
McCutchen, certainly the leader of the pack here with the Pirates, one of the best players in the game. Starling Marte not in the lineup for this game, obviously very talented as well, but this guy probably among the position players their second most valuable player this year. When you look at the raw numbers, he's really produced, and the fact that he's had to fill in for Mercer, Harrison when he got hurt. He's played a lot of short, a lot of third.
Full 3-2. Alvarez next. Rifles one the other way. And Coghlan thinking about the Polanco play. Not a bad idea.
It's kind of everybody stirred up here. You could tell in his body language as he approached that ball he was going to take a shot at it. The difference being he was a lot deeper than Polanco was for Cahill. Gunn styling a little bit out of the box.
Dirt on Alvarez. Aggressive swing that time. 1-1.
Nobody on base. Castro would probably be in short right field here. Double plays in order, so he'll just play strong pull. Not a double play depth, playing pull, but
so I would ask you based on experience, but you have told us on many occasions that you could not sink the ball to save your life.
No.
But and watching guys and talking to guys you happen to play with in your career, is there some sort of manipulation certain guys can put on the ball? Called strike 3. And Cahill is on. His sinker's really good.
Yeah, that was a changeup, but yeah, he gets very good movement. Yeah, it's arm slot. It's the ability to put pressure with your fingers. It's funny. There's two schools of thought to try to get that sinking, fading movement with the fastball. Some guys teach never let your hand pass in front of your face. Other guys teach close off the front side a little bit, so your plant side is across the body a little bit, and it creates leverage that you work against that firm front leg and you get on top of the ball to create some sinking action. I had what they call a short arm delivery, where the ball was kind of tight to my ear. Those guys never sink the ball.
Swing and a miss on a change. Well, we're going to see Jay Happ in game 2 tonight, and the comp many have made is he reminds people of Jim Deshaies.
Similar, he pitches up. I think he's got a better breaking ball. I don't know if he uses the changeup as much. Yeah, lefty fly ball type guy.
Wild pitch allows Gunn to advance to second.
That one had a lot of run, not a whole lot of sink. It's the last place you expect a sinker baller to throw a fastball.
He got him. Appeared to be a cutter, possibly.
A little crossfire to the inside corner at 94.
Outside. I think that's basically his four-seam fastball that cuts. One ball, one strike on Mercer. 0 for 2 in the ball game. I think Trevor Cahill's getting paid by 3 teams this year. Sharply hit. Oh, what a play by Russell. I don't know how he saw it as Gung was running right in front of him. That ball took a tricky hop, but he made the play. 4-1 Pirates after 5. Very tricky play. Very dramatic music.
Yeah, a play like that deserves dramatic music.
Gung might have been a hurdler in South Korea.
Blackhawks are looking for a goaltender this winter. Russell might be worth a call. Saw through the screen, made the save.
Schwarber, Coghlan, and Rizzo against Garrett Cole, who's been terrific today. He's allowed 3 hits and 1 unearned run. Backdoor curve misses outside. Schwarber's flied out twice to right. 1-1.
Last time the Cubs faced Cole was back in May 15th at Wrigley. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings. Suffered a 4-1 loss. That was the first loss the Cubs pinned on him. He had been 6-0 prior to that one.
Fastball 97. Fill the count at 3-2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. 3 in a row now. 7 on the day for Cole.
It's gotten better as the game has moved along.
Working on 8 full days of rest.
Cubs' last best chance came in the 3rd. Russell singled, Coghlan walked, and with 2 outs, Rizzo had a chance but flew to left.
Inside on Coghlan. He's made an impact. Sac fly in the 1st. Hit by a pitch in the 3rd. Carlos Martinez tonight for St. Louis. Right-hander Ariel Pena will make his 3rd appearance and 2nd major league start for the Brewers. Inside corner, 1-2.
His nickname is the Mermaid. Or at least it will be from this point forward.
Right, yeah. Colin McHugh and Derek Holland, Astros Rangers, a big matchup in Arlington. Charged by Young, off balance throw. He gets him.
Well, the Cubs split a 4-game set in Philly. That was disappointing. And you hope to do damage here, but if you were to, realistically, if you split 4 here in Pittsburgh, at least at the start of the road trip, as you mapped it out, you said, yeah, you get a split of that 4-game set in Pittsburgh. If you take care of business in Philly, you'd feel good about it.
Well, a split here would be a 5-4 trip. Or, no, 6-5, I think. I'm going to do the math. 11-game road trip. 4-1 Pirates. By T-Mobile. Out in front of the Wrigley Field marquee.
Styling. Those are the fedoras they gave away at the ballpark, I believe.
4 bridges inside, actually 5 or 6 if we look way down the river.
There's Clemente Bridge, the Andy Warhol Bridge. Do we know the rest of them? Rachel
Carson Bridge. Is there one named after Gabe Kaplan? Veterans Bridge.
That's the flat one.
Is there a Mr. Rogers, a Fred Rogers
I would hope
Bridge?
so, yeah. And when you get to the end of it, you put on your cardigan and change your shoes.
1-2 to Stewart. Struck him out.
That was an ugly hack. There's a good shot of Fred Rogers.
My neighbor. Good hand for Cole. 1 for 2 with a run, but the applause is more about his pitching.
Mr. Rogers would sing "It's a Beautiful Day at the Ballpark" instead of the neighborhood here today. Weather-wise, it's been beautiful. Results-wise, not so much for the Cubs. Picture perfect day for baseball or just about any outdoor endeavor.
And this is one of our favorite stops on the circuit. This beautiful vista as Cole strikes out. That's 4 for Cahill. That will be it for the right-hander. And Joe wants a lefty. I think it's Ross Cup. It'll be the southpaw Ross Cup when we come back.
Don't miss your chance to catch the best matchups in baseball. Reserve your place in line for history in the making. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy. It's free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
There's hard throwing lefty Zach Rosscup.
2 outs, nobody on. Lefty Polanco due to bat. Rosscup has worked in 29 ball games this year. He's picked up a couple of wins and a loss along the way. Pitched to a .396 earned run average.
Oregon native. 28th round pick of the Rays, 2009. Major league debut 2013 with the Cubs. Came over in the Matt Garza deal along with Garza prior to 2011. Ground ball to first. Rizzo's got it. Not close at first, but he beats Polanco. How about another bridge shot? 4-1. The first Cub 20-game winner since John Lieber in 2001. Cubs and Pirates tomorrow night, 6 Central, right here on CSN Chicago. Garrett Cole has retired 10 in a row. Bryant, Montero, and Castro due here in the 7th. Getting late here in game 1. Ball 1 to Bryant. Starling Marte now playing left. That's an upgrade defensively. And on the hands of Bryant, and he pops it foul behind the first base dugout.
Must be some solid wood he's swinging, because that one was right in on his thumbs.
Marte not only battling the stomach flu, got hit by a pitch on the left shoulder a few days ago. As he gets into this game late. One, 2 to Bryant. Called strike 3. Tough day for Chris. 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, no better example of that dilemma I talked earlier about the offerings of Garrett Cole here. That nasty slider and the 97-mile-an-hour heater. So chases the previous pitch, a swing and miss slider. So you're telling yourself, well, see the ball a little longer, try not to get fooled, and you just can't pull the trigger on 97. Not a whole lot you can do there, unless you just don't react to the previous slider. Just, maybe sell out, look fastball the entire at bat.
Oh, and 1 on Montero. Want to send out happy birthday wishes. Big Cub fan Angela Love celebrating a birthday today. That deflects off the glove of Alvarez into right, and Montero has his second hit, and that snaps A string of 11 straight Cubs retired by Cole.
Montero, one guy's getting pretty good swings at Cole here today. His second hit on the afternoon. Sharply hit. A play Alvarez could have made. Not an easy play, and it's a base hit.
Curve misses in tight on Castro, who has struck out both times.
First time in a while that Cole has had to work out of the stretch. Maybe that will create an issue for him. Starlin 0 for 2 today with a couple of strikeouts. Was hitting .444 on the road trip, 8 out of 18. With a couple of long ones and a double.
Joakim Soria is up in the Pirate bullpen.
You know, earlier you posed the question, would you rather face the Pirates or the Cardinals in a one-game playoff?
Knocked down by Cole, and everybody's going to be safe. Infield single, Starlin Castro. Cole looks like he's all right. Now, would that ball have gotten to Walker, and would it have been a 4.63 had Cole not been in the way?
Take a look here. It's sharply hit.
Could be a big break for the Cubs. Ball was hit really hard.
Yeah, and higher up on Cole than I realized. Oh no, it's down off that foot. Yeah, you're right. Walker might have been there to make a play on that ball. But anyway, you asked, would you rather see the Cubs play the Cardinals or the Pirates because of Cole? And I guess Walker would most likely be the guy you would see in St. Louis. I think Cole would probably be a little bit tougher. You never know, right? On any given night. But just in terms of if you're a fan of pitching, to watch Cole and Arrieta because they are so similar stylistically, and then the plus arm, the nasty slider, that would be very entertaining.
I think most Cub fans would say, if you guarantee me a win, I want it at St. Louis. But yeah, I think ultimately it doesn't really matter. We're in that Cubs clubhouse. We'll take Jake against anybody. That's what the answer would be. One strike on the pinch hitter, Tommy La Stella. He represents the tying run. This has felt a little bit like an Arrieta start when you look at what Cole has done. He's been in command throughout. It has felt like more than a 3-run deficit for the Cubs as a result of that.
Well, Stella has a quick bat. He's got very good strike zone judgment.
Left field, and it is down, and a fair ball. Montero will score. Castro to third. La Stella comes through off the bench. It's 4-2.
Yeah, Joe talks often when putting his lineup together that he's tempted to put La Stella in the starting lineup, but then he leaves him on the bench because he loves that ability. The very few guys can come off the bench, especially a young guy like La Stella, and have a competitive at bat against the likes of Garrett Cole. But he's quick to the ball. He's got a real good idea of the zone, as I mentioned. An intriguing player and a great swing of the bat here, and that's going to do it for Cole.
He'll get a good hand. Cubs are an outfield hit away from tying this game. Pitching change in the 7th. Don't go anywhere. in the past tense because he is now out of the game here in the 7th.
He's a base hit away from a hang with him, no decision. Right now he's got a chance to be the winning pitcher, and he was outstanding this afternoon. Didn't walk anybody, 8 punch outs. And this inning, an off the glove base hit at first base. He'll come back with that hit him in the foot, and then a very good swing of the bat. RBI double for Tommy La Stella. Joaquin Soria into the ball game now. 3-1 with a 290 with Detroit and Pittsburgh. 23 of those 24 saves coming while with the Tigers. That job here belongs to Mark Melancon. So Soria, the veteran, brings depth to this very talented Pirate bullpen.
Yeah, he's very familiar to these pressure packed situations. Russell lines to the shortstop. Mercer, 2 outs. 202 career saves for Soria. And it'll be left up to Dexter Fowler. That gets by. Castro will score. 1-run ball game. A wild pitch on Soria. And that was nowhere near the target. So a 4-3 ball game. Runner at third now, and Fowler takes it low, 2-0. How about Trevor Cahill with his 2 scoreless innings? Rosscup quickly got out of the 6th as well. The bullpen keeping the Cubs within striking distance after a short start by Jason Hamill. 3-0 on Fowler. Schwarber on deck. He walked it.
Yeah, very interesting development here in the 7th. So they have indeed. They've gotten Cole out of the game. They've gotten into this bullpen. Granted, a very talented bullpen, but now just 1 run behind. You come back and win this one, you would really feel like you stole a win here in game 1 of this doubleheader. It'd be a huge lift.
Big spot here for the rookie Kyle Schwarber. Stella is at third. He represents the tying run. Fowler, the go-ahead run at first.
I don't think Joe wants Fowler going early in this at bat with Fowler, or with Schwarber, excuse me. If Schwarber were to fall behind in the count, maybe. Soria making no assumptions, working hard on Fowler. And of course, Brandon Hyde will have the clock on Soria. Excuse me. Getting his times to home. And if the math makes sense, it might be a little more aggressive. Pretty quick there. I think Joe Madden's quite content right now to have Soria's concentration split between first base and home plate. Schwarber 0 for 3 today, but good swings the first 2 times up.
2-0. That's 6 bad ones, including a wild pitch to give up a run.
Soria has had a very successful career. He's not one of those relievers with overpowering stuff. He has a starting pitcher's mix. 4-pitch pitcher, uses his slider and curveball a fair amount. Also has a good changeup.
Back in it, 2-2. One-run ball game here in the 7th. 2-2 to Schwarber, gets by. Here comes La Stella. We're tied. Soria with 2 wild pitches, allowing 2 runs to score.
Talk about providing a lift in the visiting dugout. La Stella delivers the RBI double, then comes around on a couple of wild pitches, and Stewart not able to get leather on that one. Soria all over the place here with his fastball.
All these runs charged to Cole, the starter. He gave up 4 runs, 3 earned. 3-2 pitch. Schwarber swings and misses to end the inning, but the Cubs put up 3, and we're tied at 4.
Game 4-4. Pirates to bat, bottom of the 7th. The most popular way to follow the Cubs' push to the postseason is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat now.
Joakim Soria contemplating what went wrong as he let a couple get away from him. Wild pitches allowing the Cubs to tie the ball game.
Tell Garrett Cole, I'm Soria, man. Cole probably doesn't want to make eye contact with him. Well, Strop will have the bottom half of the 7th, and he will face 2, 3, 4. That would be Walker, McCutchen, and Gung. 2-6, 3.15 the ERA for Pedro as he's on for the 69th time. Bullpen over the last couple of weeks, kind of riding that roller coaster. And some ill-timed free passes to set up run-scoring innings.
Walker pops it up. And it's Castro out in shallow right center to make the grab.
Normally you think of Strop as the 8th inning guy, Rondon the 9th. What will Walker, McCutchen, Gung do here? I think Joe likes Strop against the right-handed bats. And maybe if all goes according to plan here, then Fernando Rodney in the 8th. With that changeup, which would be good against the lefties. The lefty, Alvarez.
Here's the 1-0 inside. Cuts it turned away.
Speaking of lefties, there's a pretty good one there in Tony Watson.
Strike on a slider, 2-1. Ooh, strike 2.
Painted that outside corner.
Quick pitch and a bounding ball foul. Laid off the slider. It's full 3-2. Gung, the third baseman, on deck. The third and foul. Starter Hamill at 3 2/3. He gave up 4 runs, 2 1/3 since Cahill and Rosscup. 1 hit combined, 4 strikeouts, no runs. Swing and a miss on the slider. 2 down.
Strop really gets on top of this one. Has very good downward tilt on that slider.
One 1-0 on Gung. He's got a 7-game hitting streak after his 5th inning single. Three and 0. Pedro Alvarez waits in the wings.
Gung swinging 3-0 earlier, so you can't rule it out here. Taking all the way.
Caught by Russell. The little leap and the catch, and the inning comes to an end. Pirates go down 1-2-3, and we head off to the 8th. It's the Cubs 4 and the Pirates 4. put up a 3 spot in the 7th. It'll be left-hander Tony Watson for the Buccos. Cole, Soria, and Watson.
Watson, very talented left-hander. He's on for the 68th time, 2.20 ERA. He's been tough to hit. League bats just 2.13 against him. He's allowed 3 home runs and 65 in the 3rd.
Austin Jackson will pinch hit for Coghlan. Jorge Soler's with Myrtle Beach. The Pelicans tomorrow night could win the Mills Cup. They've won the first 2 games of that series. Victor Caratini with the game-winning RBI in extra innings Monday and knocked in both runs in a 2-0 win over Wilmington last night. They'll be at home tomorrow.
Changeup from Watson. That's a very good pitch for him. Pretty good command of the fastball, both sides of the plate. He backed off his slider a bit this year, leaning a little more heavily on the fastball changeup combination.
Pretty well hit right center, but Polanco will make the grab.
This is going to make somebody pay here fairly soon. He's been in a little bit of a funk. Five out of 29 now on the road trip.
Bryant. Rizzo 1 for his last 21. He's due. That missed. 2-1.
Slider just off the outside corner.
On top of the plate. They want to go in, and it's back out over the plate for strike 2. 2-2. The lefty is ready, and Rizzo sends it high in the air. Coming on is Polanco. Watson is an Iowa native, born in Sioux City, went to Dallas Center Grimes High School in Grimes, Iowa, and then the University of Nebraska. He has never made a start at this level. 324 appearances now, all in relief. Chris Bryant, towering fly ball, deep left center. McCutchen back. He is at the wall. He's got it right in front of the bullpen. Sounded like a home run swing. He just came up short, and we remain tied in the 8th. two wild card leaders. Pirates 4 games ahead of the Cubs. Cubs are 7 up on the Giants. So interesting with this big left field. Austin Jackson originally went out to right, but now he's over in left. Schwarber will go to right.
That is interesting, especially with a left-handed pull hitter up.
Pedro Alvarez against Justin Grimm.
Well, Grimm, an understandable choice here. He's pitching a lot of high leverage situations. And boy, you just got to. They call it a strike or a ball?
Ball.
I thought he called it a strike. I was going to say you got a break there. And the numbers on Grimm are good. Look at the batting average by left-handed hitters, 132.
Alvarez did not swing. By the way, this is the first time now Kyle Schwarber has played right field as a pro, minors or majors.
Joe Madden is not afraid, is he?
Nope, he's not. I don't think Kyle is either. 3-1. Three and two. Full count.
Left-handed batter 7 out of 61 against Grimm this year. That 132 batting average, a 208 slugging percentage. He's allowed 2 extra base hits all year to left-handed hitters. 1 double, 1 home run. He has done that a fair bit, however.
Could not get Alvarez to swing at any of those pitches. And just wondering if we'd see a pinch runner, and we will. Pedro Florimon will run for Alvarez. And it will be Starling Marte with his first plate appearance after a mound visit. And interesting news out of Milwaukee, the Cardinals not only are starting Matt Adams tonight, Matt Holliday has been activated off the disabled list. So those could be 2 very key guys here down the stretch and into October for the Cardinals.
Well, Cardinals probably feel like whether Holliday is 100% or Adams. Well, Adams was activated the other day when we were there.
Yeah.
But you know, certainly a sense of urgency in St. Louis now with the Pirates making this push. We saw it when they played Randall Grichuk in center field that day, even though he couldn't throw. A sense of where their mind was at. Marte, a good bunter. You have to respect that. He's good at a lot of things. Just a good, solid player.
Grimm steps off. Yeah, Marte has 32 infield hits. Terrific defender out in left. A multi-dimensional player. There goes Florimon. The pitch is inside. Montero's throw into center. And that is huge. Florimon now at third with nobody out.
Ball almost got loose as it came back into the infield.
Well, the Cubs took advantage of the steal and error on the catcher in the first inning to get an unearned run. And the Pirates here trying to retake the lead again.
Yeah, and that's one we've seen that a lot from Castro. You got to find a way to keep that ball in front of you. You give up the body, you know, just block it. Don't give up those extra 90 feet. This crowd really energized all of a sudden.
Infield in. Bounced foul by Marte.
.375 in 12 games against the Cubs. Infield in, outfield, straight up.
.95 off the plate, inside. No, this is certainly an inning and a situation in which Clint Hurdle has taken advantage of his September roster, using Florimon as a pinch runner. Line shot caught by Jackson. Florimon tags. He will score on a sacrifice fly by Marte. It's 5-4 Pirates.
Good quick stroke there by Marte. And the leadoff walk comes back to bite the Cubs.
Well, base is empty, 1 out, and the Cubs will have to get it done against Mark Melancon, who has 45 saves to lead the major leagues. He is 1 off the Pirates club record in saves in a single season. Oh, 0-2. Bounce to the shortstop. Russell plays it aggressively. 2 outs.
Well, there's the aforementioned Mark Melancon, the all-star.
Cutter curve repertoire. And the Cubs have seen him a lot over these last few years. Chris Stewart takes a strike on the curve from Grimm. Michael Morse on deck. These two teams with a lot of depth. Like you referenced earlier, Aramis Ramirez, Josh Harrison on that bench today. Morse, Travis Ishikawa. Cubs have Javier Baez, Jackson into the game. Krista Norfia. Was Stella coming off the bench? Pretty big today for the Cubs as well. And fouled back. So the Pirates, this is falling right into what they have done really well at home. They've only lost 1 game when leading after 8, but they have just been deadly in 1-run games in this ballpark. 20-5 in 1-run games at home. They've won 11 straight such decisions, and they've been the best 1-run team in all of baseball. 31-15. Having a guy like Melancon as your closer is certainly a big part of that. As Stewart strikes out, we will go to the ninth. 5-4 Pittsburgh. Mark Melancon. Sean Rodriguez now into play first.
Well, if the Cubs do come back, you have a feeling that there's going to be a wild pitch involved, or a ball in the dirt, or something. It's been overthrown today. Yeah. Cubs scored 2 runs on wild pitches. Pirates have taken advantage of a couple of leadoff walks and an error. Melancon, one of the best in the business now, an All-Star this year for the 2nd time. He was an All-Star in 2013 as well. 3-1 with a 2.03. 45 saves, and he's only failed to convert on 2 occasions. See that batting average against lefties, just 143. So he's one of those reverse split guys. You're better off sending right-handed hitters up against him because that cutter is just devastating in on the hands of the left-handed hitter.
So you've got Montero, Castro, and a pinch hitter here in the 9th. .45 saves. Melancon leads Trevor Rosenthal by 2. He has blown 2 opportunities. Andrew Miller and Jonathan Papelbon have a better save percentage. Papelbon blew the save last night in Philadelphia, but he got the win. And Montero takes ball 1. So we're thinking maybe a Javier Baez pinch hit appearance.
Would certainly be a candidate.
Might depend on the situation. Yeah. After
Joe,
Castro.
I'm sure Joe is checking out his grid of possibilities with matching up Melancon's stuff with the guys that he has available on his bench. Baez the most likely candidate to run into one and knock one out of here.
Melancon's making me nervous. Rocking back and forth. Curveball. That's a good pitch. We hear so much about his cutter. He's got a good curve.
Yeah, and he has what a lot of guys don't have is curveball command. We talk so much about fastball command. He has the ability to throw that thing in the strike zone when he wants, and then he'll get it a little sharper and bury it down in the dirt when he's looking for a swing and a miss. Like that.
So 1 away here in the 9th. Will be Castro. And Baez now is on deck.
Melancon originally drafted and signed by the Yankees, 9th round of '06.
Huh. Baez with the Jason Hayward helmet extension. Swing and a miss by Castro. Strike 2.
Well, that breaking ball, normally, if you're a right-handed hitter, you're probably looking for that cutter away from Melancon. That was a front door cutter. A cutting action, but threw it to the inside part of the plate. Now he's going to come back with a hook. Melancon took his turn as the setup man to Jason Grilli here. They were one heck of a 1-2 punch. Then he moved into the closer's role when Grilli moved on. Watson became the 8th inning guy.
McCutchen, 2 down. Ask Hobby later why the extra jaw protection. Kind of surprised more guys don't do it, actually. At any rate, here we go. Melanson to Baez. 2 outs, 9th inning, 1-run ball game. And ball 1. Two and 0.
Yeah, well, normally you're telling the guy, especially a young guy, right? Hey, just go have a good at bat, keep the line moving. I would have been tempted to, don't give him any of that. Just say, hey, go ahead and be a hero. Especially you get a 2-0 count, take a big swing.
Off the plate, 3-0. Addison Russell on deck. Fans on their feet. Swings away on 3-0. That's what you were talking about.
He worked his way into that favorable count and took a big swing at a 3-0 fastball. He just didn't get it. But nothing wrong with swinging big when you're sitting 3-0 and you get a pitch in the zone.
And 2.
His weight falling off, just drifting a little bit to the third base side.
Three and 2, 2 outs. Here's the pitch. In the dirt, Stewart will fire to Rodriguez, and the Pirates take game 1. 5-4 the final. They've won 12 consecutive 1-run decisions here in their home ballpark. 50-22 at PNC.
Could have been a real nice win for the Cubs as they came back to tie it against Garrett Cole, but it was not to be.
Benny's Beverage Depot toast of the game. Starling Marte only played the final few innings, but he ends up with the game-winning RBI on a sac fly lineout in the 8th. Unearned run to win it.
Leadoff walk, stolen base. Florimon got to third on the air. Marte cashed it in.
Game 2 will be later tonight on WGN, and the final score once again today. Pirates 5, Cubs 4. We're back on CSN tomorrow night. Jake Arrieta night. He goes for win number 20 at 6 o'clock Central. Stay tuned now. Blue Cross Blue Shield Cubs post-game live is next.